Always my favorite part.
Hey, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Wes.
We've been married for 25 years through the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the what the heck were we thinking?
Now we're going to pull back the curtain on all of it. The love, the struggles, the healing, the humor, and the stuff nobody tells you about in a relationship that actually lasts.
This is You're Doing It Wrong, the podcast where we talk about all things marriage, connection, growth, and what it really looks like to do life together.
Because let's be honest, we've done a lot of things wrong, but somehow we're still here. Stronger, wiser, and maybe even a little funnier.
But looks aren't everything.
Mm-hmm.
So grab a drink, get a snack, take a deep breath, and come hang out with us. You're not alone in this. We're figuring it out too.
Let's get into it.
Let's go. So, happy Easter Sunday.
Happy Easter.
A pretty cool day, I think. It's fun. Kai just actually finished doing a full Holy Week of singing. I was just talking to him a minute ago before we started the podcast, and his voice was tired and worn out, but he has been able to celebrate all week with actually different congregations and different denominations, which is really cool. He's been able to see.
It would be cool to see the differences that they do, but the similarities too.
Yeah, I think it was really, really neat for him. He actually told me there are some recordings, so he's going to send us over the link so that we can watch the recordings. So that'll be really fun. I like doing that. Be awesome.
You know, I just had a thought. I just said that it would be unique to see the differences, and then I realized, and it would be awesome to see the similarities.
Yeah,
that's something that I think that we run into a lot. You know, I know anytime that we've moved or I've changed a job, you have certain people that will be in the mindset of, oh, I'm going to miss you. And, oh, I can't live without you. Oh, we need to have you around. We need you here. This is so sad. It's a sad moment. And then you have other people that are, I am so excited for you. I am so happy for you and for the change and what you're able to do. Why do you think there's a difference?
Well, we were talking about this earlier. I think part of it has to do with, well, I think there's a lot of things. Some of it is perspective. Some of it is how they're feeling in that moment. Mm-hmm. But maybe a lot of it is perspective and where they are and what they're doing in their life. I remember when we were living in Utah, and I remember a lot of people were moving away and like moving on to bigger and better things. And I just thought, whoa, that would be really neat to go somewhere. I'd never done that before. I grew up my whole life in the same house. My parents and family moved when I was on my mission. And so I hadn't ever moved.
Me too.
And same with you, right? They tried to lose us, but they didn't. We found him. We came back.
And then we ran away.
Yeah.
Ran away.
But I remember thinking, wow, that would be really neat to have that kind of an adventure. And then when it was our turn, it was really scary to have the feeling that it was time for us to move. But it is interesting how we respond. And I think in all the times we've moved, I felt differently as well. But what do you think about that?
I feel that there are specific people that are usually down that path of, oh, this sucks, I'm going to miss you, and it's terrible and sad, and they see that the difference or the negative. And I think that there's definitely people that usually, do you think the word penis?
Wes and I are really funny. We have these, side note, we have these things that we tend to say, and we've helped each other to, when we're both open to understanding and listening, we've helped each other to hear ourselves when we say those things and then catch ourselves and be like, oh my gosh, I just heard that I said that. I didn't think I said that all the time. And then we hear it. So that's what just happened. He tells me that I'm the one who says always and never. And so it was funny that he just caught himself saying always.
I heard it and I'm like, I want to say always, but I don't want to say always. I should say usually.
Most of the time.
So, bring it on back.
So back.
There are people that usually are on that positive side that are just so genuinely happy for you, for other people. It's not and the word selfish is harsh and mean, but at the same time, it's a self-centered, or it's all about me type of an attitude. Whereas those other people are actually the other side of it. It's more of a, you know what? I'm so excited for you. And internally, they're probably thinking, I'm going to be sad and miss you.
Yeah.
They will. And that's fine. And that's a good thing, because that's, there's a relationship that was built. There was friendship and love. But is it just looking at the bigger picture?
Probably. And we were talking about that earlier too, that there are things that I'm really good at being positive about and things you're really good at being positive about. And then there are other things that we're not so good about being positive about. And I think sometimes it has to do with maybe feeling jealous, or Brene Brown says envy. We like to say jealous because jealousy sounds better than envious. Envious sounds almost like a dirty word.
Oh, I would think the other way around. That's funny.
Oh, really? You think
I would think jealous is a dirty word and envy is fine.
Huh. Interesting. Well, in her studies and her different things that she's learned, she talks about how people get envious of one another. And that's when I want what you have, or I want the experience you have, or I want the house or the kids or the whatever that you have. And then there's this level of envy. And so that's how people, like, it's really difficult to be happy for you when you have something that I desperately want. And I think that's a normal thing. I think we have to work pretty hard.
It is.
At least initially to get out of that.
But don't you have to go back a step and look at what is the perception? Are you perceiving that they are happy and that they have this and that they have that? Because do they really? Are we all really put together?
Well, and maybe that's not even, as you like to say, that's not the point. The point is that we're self-reflective and we're figuring out what's going on inside of us. One of our good friends, Isaiah, him and his family were at Disney, and he came back afterwards and he said, we were fighting the whole time. And he said, why can my family not be happy at Disney? He's like, what is going on inside that's how I am? And I think that if we are able to be so vulnerable and realize how we're really feeling about ourselves on the inside, then we can start to shift that and change, because it's easy to think that it's everybody else's stuff and everybody else's fault and everybody else's whatever. And it's actually funny. Often I hear people say, well, everybody keeps saying this or everybody thinks this, but that's not how it is. And I've started to put together a pattern. If it's everybody else, then maybe they're seeing a pattern in me that I'm not recognizing. And that is hard. It's hard to be
you don't want to see that, because usually it's a negative thing, right?
Yeah. Like, how unhappy am I with my own self that I'm constantly looking for validation? I'm constantly looking outside of me to feel good inside of me. And it's super uncomfortable. In fact, I was thinking about this earlier today. In the past year for me, and in the past, 2 months that we've been doing this podcast for us, I think our growth and introspection and self-awareness is like
and uncomfortableness with it too. So
fast.
Like that growth, uncomfortable goes right with that, doesn't it?
It just does.
It's parallel.
It actually reminds me of when the softball coaches thought it would be a really good idea to have the parents play the girls.
This is a couple years ago.
This is a couple years ago. You weren't there. Billy was there with
New
me.
York? No,
it was here. It was in Winter Garden.
In Winter Garden.
And so all of us parents are like, it's been a long time since we've done anything like this, if ever. And so we got up there, and first off, having the ball thrown at you as fast as it is, I was like, this is so scary. Immediately, I had way more respect for what my daughter does out there and how she is not scared. I was so scared. I was sure I was going to get dead.
And your son.
And my son. But I didn't play against him. It was against Reese. So that was where I got the respect. I don't understand how they do what they do, first off. Like softball, baseball players, good friggin' job because it's amazing. And then the ball coming so fast, Reese kept saying, Mom, why are you swinging so slow? And I was like, I thought I was swinging so fast. She's like, you're not, the ball's past you before you even swing. I was like, oh, that's why I'm missing. But magically, I was able to hit the ball. And so I took off running. Now, back in the 1900s, I was a sprinter, and so I could run fast. Well, my head remembered that. And so my head took off. And my body was like going in slow motion. I was like, I am going to wipe out. Somehow I didn't, but I'm pretty sure I tripped over myself, and it could not have been pretty. Nobody recorded it as far as I know, thank heavens. But my point in telling that really long, seemingly random story is that in our discovery of our relationship even more, as we're talking about it and having these really deep conversations, is that our self-awareness is just growing exponentially. And I feel like the talking about things is our head going, like our head's great, but our body and our understanding and our feeling and our discomfort is trying to catch up. And we're like tripping over ourselves like puppies who are just falling up the stairs or however it is. And we're learning about each other. But for me anyways, I'm learning a lot about myself and a lot about how I react to things and how I perceive things. And I mean, we've all heard, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And I think it's the same way with you. If you're not happy, then nobody's happy. And just how much what's going on inside of us reflects outside of us.
And how much do we recognize that and pay attention to it?
And how much are we willing to?
Yeah. Because the words that we say, do we listen to the words that we say? Do we listen to how we say them?
Sometimes, and sometimes no.
No. Because we think we're saying something one way, and then everybody else says, that's not what I meant. That's not what I was saying. What do you mean? I'm good, but we have to recognize that.
We do have to recognize that. We recently, too, were talking about how
she just did it again. I said
something. But you heard it. It was good. You got there. It was funny because we realized, oh, shoot, what was I going to say? Dang it. Oh, we've started talking to one another in a way of, are you open to hearing what I have to say? Are you open to listening? And sometimes, yeah, we totally are. And other times, nope, I'm not in a state of mind to take any sort of opinion that you might have at all, no matter how flowery or sweet smelling it may be. I am not in a position to listen and receive, which has been really interesting.
But it's good that conversation can happen because we're backing up and realizing, okay, this is difficult. Let me ask if we can talk about this. And it's kind of I'm having a hard time with this, with what you're saying or doing, without saying this sucks. But then the other person can be like, okay, I recognize that they're having a hard time with this, so I need to back off. And if I'm able to listen, yes, okay, I'm ready. Or no, I'm not able to listen to this, but thank you for warning me that I'm going down the wrong path.
Yeah, and we've had some really cool conversations. We've had some really, I think, again, over the past 2 months, we've had conversations, difficult conversations that we haven't maybe ever had ever. So what's funny is in doing this podcast about relationships and about what we've learned, it's shaken us up quite a bit. Well, I guess I shouldn't say us. I can say me. Definitely it's shaken me up and helped me to see things a little differently than I realized in the way I was communicating when I felt I was doing something one way. So it's just opening up conversations that maybe we wouldn't even have thought to have before. So it's been really cool.
That is good. And you think of those husband and wife stereotypes of the wife always does this and the husband always does that, and she gets happy when I do a chore or something like that. And those don't need to be the case. And it seems like that's kind of what we've been talking about and trying to understand the other's perspective as to why is the wife happy when the husband does this? And why is the husband happy when the other way around? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's fascinating. But again, going back to the original thought, it is that perspective. It is that, are we open to looking at a selfless viewpoint? What is the other person thinking? What is the best for them? How can I help and support them? Because it's not a self sacrificing thing. You're not trying to take a knife for somebody. It's more of a, how can I support you? How can I help you? So I can help you in your process. I want to be there to support you. It's hard for me, but at the same time, I can help. And I think people don't recognize that. When you tell someone, I'm so excited for your new adventure. I'm so excited that you got a teaching job and that you're moving to a new school or whatever the situation is. But by supporting them and being positive and by seeing that other aspect, they needed this. They need the change. They're looking for it. They're striving for it. They got it. They're going to go for it. They're scared. They're nervous. There's a lot of unknowns for them. And to have one or two or a few people be like, you got this. I'm so excited for you, changes the world.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that there's not enough. If it feels like somebody else is always moving on, it doesn't mean that there's not enough for you if you're the one being left behind or not having that cool experience. It just means it's something different for you. And so celebrating others' wins can be beautiful, I think.
Yeah.
I think it can be really fascinating. It was cool that you two were talking about giving support. And that's another neat conversation we've had recently. You also were talking about that because we talked about, you said you supported me. And what that meant to me was that you would, I just figured in my mind, if you said you supported me, that meant you were going to do all my tech. Because as far as I'm concerned, so when Wes and I were we were just friends. We weren't, as far as I'm concerned, we weren't dating. We were just really, really good friends. Hey, Colby.
You got to get rid of that cup.
I don't know if you guys can hear him chewing
Probably
on the straw,
can't,
but we
that's
can.
like so distracting. He's got one of the plastic straws in the lid and he's just...
It's amazing. But when we first met, I didn't speak any Spanish at all. And Wes said some words, I don't know, 5 words or something. I was like, whoa, he totally speaks Spanish. And that was how it is with tech. But then when I learned Spanish, I realized, oh, he doesn't know that much Spanish, but I thought he did because I didn't know any. And then same with the tech, because I am not good with tech at all. And so in my mind, he knows all of the tech. And so when he said, I'm going to support you, that meant he was going to do all of my tech. That was, he might as well have said, I'm going to do your tech. And I was like, cool. But then whenever I'd ask him to do it, he didn't really want to. So a part of supporting is understanding, again, what that means. I just think the more open and honest in conversation we can be, the better, because then we can fully understand one another. There are so many unspoken expectations where when he says something, I think it means one thing, therefore I act on that thing, and that's not what he was thinking at all. And then there's a miscommunication, and then there's often frustration and irritability because it didn't appear to have been miscommunicated, but the way I understood it was not the way that he meant it. So that's been something that we've been learning about as well.
So being specific. Mm-hmm. Specifics make such a difference. All the time at work, I see general comments that are made and in an email or just in a comment in a meeting or something. And so are you saying this and this and this is included in that? Oh, no. It's just this and this, but not those. Okay, well, we need some specifics to get good direction.
And I think good questions are important as well.
Oh, 100%.
Because sometimes things are so close to us, we don't realize that there needs to be clarification because it's so obvious what
you're thinking.
I was making green beans a while ago and Billy goes, well, how do you make those green beans? I'm like, well, they're just normal. In my mind, it was just normal because if I make fresh green beans, that's how I make them. And he was like, well, but how do you make them? And and then I started explaining it. Well, I saute onions and peppers, and then I cook the green beans in them, and then I put in some chicken stock, and then I reduce it down. And he's like, so not just plain green beans.
Did you put bacon in there?
Oh, yeah, there's bacon grease in there.
Don't forget the bacon.
So there's all these different things that was just normal.
Is it pure taco meat?
Right. But how is he supposed to know exactly what to do if I don't give him the specifics? But that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we're so close to it, we just don't realize.
Yeah.
And so asking questions and then hearing those questions
as a clarification. As a clarification. That also happens to me at work. People are like, why are you asking so many questions? I want to understand the details. I want to understand the bigger picture. I need to know what's going on. I'm not questioning what we're doing. I'm questioning how we're doing.
And what we're doing sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But more often than not, it is more of I want to understand how we're going to do it. And it takes the right person to recognize that person's asking how to do it. That person's asking, why are we doing it? Mm-hmm. Very different.
Yeah. When we listen to understand versus listening to respond, it changes everything. And you and I have both.
Here's how it affects me, and here's what I don't want to do, and here's what's going to suck about that.
And you and I have both done both. And it's human nature, and that's where the whole self-awareness thing comes in. Mm-hmm. Is okay, this person, and this is something I talk to my kids about all the time. They've all heard this 1,000 times, and if you've ever been around me when somebody's asked a question, you've heard me say it. The reason they're asking a question is because they don't know the answer. Often people will say, well, that's a stupid question, or why are you asking that? Well,
there are no stupid questions.
There are stupid questions.
They're very definitely stupid.
But usually if someone asks a question, it's because they don't understand what's going on and they would like to know the answer. That's it. Mm-hmm. Not to be a brat. And in all of that, many of you will notice. She's being a brat
because she's pointing at me because I do that sometimes.
Many of you will notice that our sound is much better and hopefully our picture quality is much better. Our son-in-law was here this weekend with our daughter and our grandbaby, and he helped get things set up and mics tuned and all sorts of things. So thank you, Logan, for that. We're really appreciative. I think it sounds really good. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it does.
It's only you that knows that these microphones aren't just actually floating in space over there.
They are.
No one else is ever going to know how these are attached and what they're doing.
It looks really good over here. And at some point we'll be like in a for reals studio, either in our house or somewhere. And so this is really exciting. And so thank you for that. And as he was explaining different things and setting things up, I know I asked a million questions. He had to be super patient with me because I was asking questions that he was like, okay, so if you do that, then this part doesn't even matter. But I didn't realize that. So thank you for being patient with me with my questions. I just don't know the answer and I don't understand how a lot of these things work. And mostly I just want somebody to do it for me. So thank you also to our behind the scenes.
So maybe that's something that needs to change sometimes. Instead of asking these questions that people don't understand, we have to just be like, you know what? Doesn't even matter. I just want you to do it.
I trust you. You work your magic. You do your thing.
I trust you to load the dishwasher and that the dishes will come out clean.
You think you can do that? I have no problem with that. I literally have no problem. If somebody wants to do my dishes, as long as it's not my measuring cup or my magical glass that you got me that has like the words that can get washed off in the dishwasher, everything else can go in there. I do not care.
But there is a better way of loading so that you can get more dishes in and that they get clean. Yeah, but you just barely
said maybe we don't have to worry about that stuff and just let people do their thing, and that's how I feel.
I think Lori's on my side. Lori's on my side with this one.
Lori's not even watching today, I think. So
she will come in, she will text you, she will respond, she will 100% be on my side.
Yeah, well, it's just too bad because it's Easter, and so she's busy with all 374 of her children, right, Lori?
Yeah.
You'll watch this later. So let's chat about Easter for just a minute.
So can we bring that aspect in?
Go ahead. Tell me what you mean.
So we were talking a little bit about perspectives of seeing the positive versus the negative. And just your aspect or your perspective of what's going on based on what you're thinking and feeling. And if you haven't watched The Chosen, we would strongly suggest The Chosen, the series. It is phenomenal. It is so close to the Bible, to the New Testament specifically, as to what's going on. It's amazing. And to see the personality put into people, the humanality put into it is phenomenal. And it's really given us, we've talked about it, so I can say us, but me specifically, I know how different I see them, because they're coming from an aspect of, like, say, Simon, for example. He is a fisherman, and he's got lots of situations and things going on in his life that we don't really know too much about just from the scriptures, but there are other things that scholars and people know. But to see his perspective from a Jew having the Romans over them, and we all know that they expected Jesus to come in and to physically overthrow them and to become their king. And that's not what Jesus wanted. So they have this perspective, this he's going to come in and fight for us perspective. And they kept that. And as Jesus continued to teach them, over the years, I think it slowly broke that down a little bit more and more, to where by the time when he was crucified, they're just like, I don't even know. I don't know where to go from here. And then he was resurrected, and things started to go the other direction. And I think that's where there was more of a light that switched. The light bulb came on, and it was, okay, here we go. This is what's happening, and here's where we need to go with that. And that's when they, seemingly gained their confidence, their testimony, their ability to go out on their own to teach. As before, it was always, we got to be together, and we got to help each other, and we can't go out on our own. And after the resurrection, they were just like, let's go. I got this. I am good. I got the power of God. I can do this. And they were out. And that mind shift changed from that mind shift change from, seeing the negative or seeing this other perspective from, where they came from to where Jesus wanted them to be. And it changed into a positive.
That's cool. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and something that I heard that I loved, two things. One was, we don't often run on accident, was one of them. And the other one was, Mary waited. So the first one, when the apostles found out that he had risen and that he was there, I think it was Peter who ran back to the tomb. He ran. In order to run, we have to be pretty aware of what we're doing. And it's usually something very urgent, whether we're running a race or we're running with the purpose to exercise. We don't just all of a sudden be like, what am I doing? I didn't even realize I was running. Here I am running. Who even knew? It's something that we make an effort to do. And I would say often in the Bible, and when it comes to Jesus, his apostles or people run to him. So it is a very specific thing that people do. And so my question to myself and to anybody who's listening, yes, this is a podcast about relationships. Yes, it is a podcast about our marriage. A big part of our relationship and our marriage is our love of Jesus Christ. And so that's going to come into this. And what better time to bring him in than Easter? And so it made me think, how often do I run to him? Or is it more of a meander or a mosey or well, maybe I should reach out to him, as opposed to putting on my running shoes, going outside and having a goal and getting there. And then the other thing was, Mary, when they went to the tomb and saw that the stone was rolled away, she was the only one who waited. She didn't leave. I don't know why everyone else left. But today, with the guest on the podcast I was listening to, I love how she explained that Mary waited. And how often do we wait when something doesn't go the way that we thought, or when we're having a hard time? How often do we just sit? The people who hung out with Jesus had amazing things happen. You know, if you'd left at the Sermon on the Mount halfway through, you wouldn't have got fed. If you'd left early on in the wedding feast, you wouldn't have seen the water turn to wine. Those who wait with Jesus tend to get beautiful benefits and beautiful rewards. And so how often I'll pose the question, but more to myself, how often do I wait? How often am I patient enough to listen and to wait? And I find myself, as I'm getting older, I try not to be as sort of knee-jerk reaction in things. I'll listen to something, and I know sometimes that drives you crazy because I don't respond right away. For me, my end goal is that we do communicate well. And sometimes it's better for me to not speak quickly, because I can, like all of us, we can all have kind of a sharp tongue when we're hurt. You know, it's easy to say, well, you this, if you're saying, well, you that, or I'm feeling this way. And if I'm not open to receiving it and I just want to fight back, that's not ideal. And so I'm finding more and more, I guess I'm starting to understand maybe why Jesus drew in the ground. I mean, I don't know, maybe he was trying not to be human, you know, like the rest of us are. Or
it's been something over the last year, I think, that I've had that specific thought. There's always the fight or flight mentality. That's pretty much what we do. But Jesus didn't do that. He's trying to teach us there's a different way. Be still and know that I'm God. Mm-hmm. Just hold on a second. Just stop. Think about it. Pray. And when you're talking about Mary, I think that's what she learned from him. I think she learned that instead of acting or reacting or doing something really quickly, she just kind of waited. Okay, let me figure out what I need to do. And maybe she felt prompted to just stay there. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't know. She was very good at having lots of feelings and not expressing them and telling other people. Mm-hmm. So that ability to stop and draw in the sand, you know, as we look back at all of the different occurrences and things that happened to him, from what I remember, I'm hopefully I'm not missing any. Maybe I am, but he did a really good job of just waiting, thinking about it, praying about it, because he was asking his Father in heaven. He was asking God, okay, where do I go with this? He would go off to pray. He would stop and draw in the sand. Mm-hmm. He sat down and he braided a scourge, you know, all the different things that he did to wait. And we just don't do that often enough. We're just so busy with music running and cars going and TV blaring and so many things happening that we just have to make a decision and run and go. But sometimes it's, why aren't we stopping and smelling the roses and just appreciating the moment, thinking about it, figuring it out, and we'll be blessed with it. Yeah.
Makes me think of one of my very favorite words that I learned when I was in massage school, and it's called beingness. It's not a real word, but I think it is.
Is it the same as stick-to-itiveness?
No, totally different.
Okay.
Beingness is being in the moment. When I was in massage school, they taught us when you go into a massage, you're going to have plenty of things on your mind. You're going to have bills and families and food and school and all these different things on your mind, because we're all humans. So we're very complex. We have a lot of things on our mind. And they said, before you enter that room, you can actually physically act like you're taking, okay, here's my bills, here's my house, here's my children, whatever it is. It's sort of taking that burden off and setting it on a shelf somewhere and just saying you're going to stay here. And then when you walk into that room, you're totally present in that room. You're being with that person. You're not thinking about all these other things you had to do. You just set it down.
Being there in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we do that, when I do that, time slows down, because I'm not trying to multitask in my mind. Mm-hmm. I'm just there. Over this past week, I was able to lay with my grandbaby and snuggle my daughter and talk with my son. Like, I was just able to do these things And even last night, Cora and I were able to laugh so hard because that was all that mattered in that moment. And so I guess that kind of brings it back to what our focus is and how we see things. Is just being able to be in the moment, because that's what I want. I want to have those relationships that last. And if I really, really want a relationship that lasts, what is it that I'm willing to do? Not necessarily what is it that I'm willing to sacrifice or give up, but maybe how am I willing to communicate and to listen and to be open to make that last.
What are you willing to give? Because there's a difference between giving and giving up. You're not necessarily giving up something, but you're giving something. You're giving something to that relationship, to that moment.
Yeah.
That's good. So what I'm hearing is that we need to listen to the words that we say. We need to recognize if we're being positive and uplifting to others versus selfishly or, thinking of how's it going to affect me. That's going to happen. But how do I not verbalize or vocalize that? And how do I be kind and uplifting to help others to feel good about themselves?
I think the best way to do that too is to then be open to feedback and hear it as feedback. And I think I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast. I think I've talked about it on my own personal podcast, and I've talked about it often in my life, is that, yeah, it's just, you're quieter, I guess, today, is that we were decorating Christmas tree stuff, and Colby was going to put the star on. And in my mind, and we were recording this, and in my mind, I said, hey, buddy, go ahead and do it now. But that wasn't how it sounded in the recording. You put it right back down. They can't hear you. That was not how it sounded in the video. It was really annoyed. And so had anybody told me I sounded annoyed, I would have been like, well, no, I didn't, because I knew how I meant it, but that was not how it was heard. And so I think maybe one of the biggest challenges is being open to feedback from others, because if somebody tells you that didn't sound very nice, it's easy to immediately be upset because that wasn't how I meant it. And yet, even if that's not how you meant it, if that's how it was heard, perhaps there's a miscommunication going on. And so when we think we're being kind and that's not how it's being received, then being open to the possibility that maybe it didn't come out of my face the way that I intended it to. Because, man, when I heard that, I just thought, oh my gosh, that is not how I meant it at all. And on the one hand, it would be nice if we could hear back everything we said and how we said it, because I think we would be really shocked a lot of times at how we would even hear ourselves sounding. I think it would be kind of frustrating sometimes. It'd be like, shoot, I totally didn't even mean it that way. I don't like the way that I sound anyways. And then by the time it came out of my face, it sounded so terrible. What was the VeggieTales that said, I told him to stay here and watch you.
Do you want me to go downtown and get a smoothie?
Right? Like, no, it's not even close. How did you hear that? So I think it's being open and curious, and maybe curious is a really good word, that when someone says, wow, that you sound really frustrated or irritated or angry or whatever, instead of immediately being like, well, no, you're wrong. Really? That's bizarre, because I meant it like this, or I felt this when I said it. Just to kind of see, well, I wonder why it started that way here and then ended up totally different when it came out of my face.
So we should walk around with recording devices in all of our conversations and then go back and listen to make sure that we did it right.
Occasionally, it actually might be kind of cool. But it probably wouldn't be a good idea if someone's mad if you hold a microphone under their face.
Hold on.
I'm going to get that, because you sound really...
This is for your benefit, not mine.
I want you to hear this later. That probably wouldn't be very good. Well, it is about that time, so we are wrapping up. And any takeaways for you?
I'm grateful that we can openly talk to each other. I love that we're able to talk to each other. I love that we're able to learn and recognize, realize, understand that we aren't done. We're not there. We're not the smartest. We're not the best. And that means I'm willing to learn. It means I'm willing to change. I'm willing to do things different. And I like that about me. And I think I see that in you.
I'm good. You like it about you, and maybe it's in me too. So that's okay. That's good.
Did I say that wrong?
I think it's cool that we're doing this. We started this at 2:00 on a Sunday because we needed to start it, and it's fun how many people are interested in helping us with sound and video and quality and how to make it better. And I think what we could do easily is be like, well, what? You don't think it's good enough? And there's a little bit that happens in my stomach when people are like, hey, you want to do this for this to make it better?
I got it. It's okay. It's just working, okay?
But I understand that that's not at all what's being said. What's being said is, this is cool that you're doing this, and I know how to help you make it better. And what I'm doing is what I know how to do. I know how to say, we're doing it at this time. And you say, and I know that you'll say, okay, I'll show up. So we did that part. And as we have more and more help in getting sound set up better and lighting and tech behind the scenes, which is our children helping out so much, and our son-in-law, it's incredible. And we are thankful to every single one of you who watch, who comment, who laugh with us, who are willing to put up with us, and who encourage us. You've asked us questions and you send us comments, and we really, really appreciate that. It's really, really fantastic to be involved in this together. This isn't, I mean, I don't think it's just about Wes and I. In fact, today we were talking to some people after church, and I just thought, how fun would it be to have other couples on with us and just talk real talk with them. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't know how all the mics would work out. I don't know if it would, I don't even have any idea how it would work, but it would be so fun because we have met,
I have a thought,
some of the coolest people.
That means we have to tell Logan and Maya that they need to drive down so they can fix it for us. Oh no, they have to come visit.
Logan's gonna be like, just got home.
No, I mean, give it a couple weeks or give it a month. And,
right, there we go.
Hey Logan, we got another couple coming. We got to work on the mics. You got to come down.
But it's so cool. So I love that we're doing this too, and I love that it's extending beyond us. So thank you for all of your involvement and for loving us and for being there with us along the way in this crazy thing that we're doing called life.
Thanks for being our friends. Thanks for supporting us.
Mm-hmm. And one of these days we will come up with the question at the end that we answer at the beginning of next time. But I forgot again until it gets to the end.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. If you have a question, will you just like throw a little, it's a hashtag or a pound sign, depending on when you were born, right? On the comments, and put replay so we know you're watching the replay. And then if you have a comment or a question or a concern or a joke, put it in there too so we can see it. We can respond to it next time, all right?
You can also text us too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got our number.
Yeah. Creepy. Well, have a fantastic Easter. As Tanner taught us in Russian, Tanner, we're going to muck this up, but it's something along the lines of the greeting is in Russia right now.
Everybody that walks around and says hello to each other, they don't just say hello.
Like, they say, he is risen. And then the response is, in truth, he is risen. I think, right, Tanner? So that's what we want to end with, that he is risen. And we believe that very much.
The Russians got it.
And remember, we're walking with you in this crazy journey called life, and you're stronger than you think.
We love you.
We love you. See ya.